various kinds of loans that are available under the scheme. So as per our eligibility and terms and conditions, we can apply. And to understand that, we can click on this read more to understand the various loans criteria. After we choose our loan, for like if I
completed. Ma'am, please continue.
Hello.
Sarlaji, continue.
Yeah. Mr. Tarakan?
Yeah.
Can you please continue?
Yeah. Okay. We'll start with that. Actually, thanks, Kovi, for inviting me to join your initiative of empowering women. Actually, I'm joining from the southernmost part of India, Trivandrum, Kerala, where my state, the empowerment is a little higher than any part of the country. I work from Trivandrum to Delhi, Rajasthan, Bihar, etc. in many parts. So I've seen the experiences across the country. Right. Is it audible to all of you?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Let me say that, okay, what we have heard in the first speaker was about health and fitness, and the second fitness was again on health and fitness. Okay, let me say that now what I have to speak is something very serious. It is actually, credit is a serious business in terms of bankers' language. It's not a child's play. Credit is always a serious thing. 3 times before you take a debt. This is what the key word which grandfathers say, and as well as bankers say. In the beginning, I would like to say, please don't apply for the loan because there is a loan facility. Okay, I have been into banks over 3 decades, and what I have seen is actually, the government, as part of the economic initiatives, create schematic lendings, and they push it through banking and financial institutions. It's normal and it's logical for a government to do that. But my point here is that before you take a decision to avail the loan, you don't become an entrepreneur because there is a loan scheme. This is what most people are committing a mistake. So first, make a decision to be an entrepreneur. So to be an entrepreneur, you should have an idea. Okay, we have some idea thrown out by our friend who was speaking at the beginning on sports services. Okay, we also have an idea from Dr. Sunita, who said about fitness and all those things. So do not think the loan as a means of your step 1 for entrepreneur. That's the wrong notion. You start to decide what you wanted to do as a business. You should have some idea. You should have some capabilities. You should have some infrastructure. You should have some networking before you start applying for the loan. This is something which I wanted to say at the beginning before I go on. Can I move on to the next scheme? In fact, Anamika has already said about it. I'm just showing this for all the participants who are attending the meeting. What's the government norm? The government norm is put in a nutshell in this PPT for all of you to read through. The government simply put the SUI scheme in a very simple manner, that all the bank branches in the country should have one SCST and 1 women borrower. There are about 2.14 lakh branches of scheduled commercial banks across the country, and each one should have 1 loan of SCST and 1 woman. This is what the government's vision, or the government wanted to as part of its public policy. Okay, and for setting up a green field, What's greenfield is not defined elsewhere in this. There are many definitions for greenfield when it comes to project finance, but simply understand greenfield, nothing means a new unit. That's all. See, it has to be, you should not ask for an Stand Up India loan for your existing business. It should be for a new venture. It's not like what we speak, it is not a startup idea or anything like that. It should be a new venture. The greenfield simply means, although the term is a little confusing, it should be for setting up a new business enterprises, whether it can be in manufacturing, services, agri-allied or trading, whatever you like it. Okay, it should be new venture. That's what it means, green only. Okay, then you can start the venture as an individual, or you can form a partnership, or you can form a company, or you can form even a cooperative society. Okay, all the three business forms are admissible in a bank, because the four forms of business organization, one is sole proprietorship, other is partnership, third is company, and the fourth is cooperative society. So all forms of business organizations are welcome for starting up an SUA venture in the bank. It is not necessary that you should be an individual. It is not necessary that you should be a company, nothing like that. But the norm stipulated by the government and is followed by the bank is that if you are not approaching the bank as an individual, that is, you are the entity, the applicant is a non-individual, meaning it's a partnership, it is a company, it is a cooperative society, then 51% of the controlling shares, controlling stake, controller is with the either with the women or with the SCST. This is what it is. That means the ownership control. The simple principle is that 51% means the control of the ownership control should be with the SCST or women enterprises. This is what is the stipulation for the women. I hope that is clear to you. So it is not necessary that you as an individual, you may find it difficult to have all these linkages and all these to start up a business. So better join with 3-4 people. Okay, have a partnership, very simple partnership, or the law allows to have limited liability partnership under the new law which is passed by the government of India. Or you can go very sophisticated way, form a company, or you can little lighter, you can go to the registrar and have a cooperative society registered with your name. Note the point, or not the norm of the government of India, saying that 51% of the members or the ownership or the shares has to be with women or SCST. Can we move on the slide? Yeah, this is already stated by Anamika. I'm just repeating it. Where to ask for the loan? Okay, so there are I already said that there are 2.14 lakh bank branches across the country, besides another about 5 to 6 lakhs customer service points across the country. Okay, so either you walk into the nearest bank branch. I put in bracket SCB. SCB means Scheduled Commercial Bank. Okay. Scheduled Commercial Bank means all banks which are controlled by the Reserve Bank of India. It also includes regional rural banks. So walk into your nearest branch. Okay, that particular branch may not be of full help to you, but it will give you some idea where to ask for it. They may say that we are such a small branch, sir or madam, we are a small branch, we cannot deal with it. Please go to the other branch. Or for many banks now, including State Bank of India, there are many banks now, there are separate loan processing centers. Most banks in India, most banks today have separate loan processing centers. So this branch will say, sir or madam, please go to nearest to your loan processing centers. So the best way is just walk into your nearest branch and get to know the preliminary idea, what should I do to start a loan. Okay, there are places you may be living in remote places where there is no branch with you, but there will be some customer service points or bank mitras. Those are called BC, business correspondent setup for most banks, because it is mandatory for the bank to set up BC setup. So just ask the BC, he will provide some idea. Okay, he may not be able to give you, or he may not be able to explain you the SUA scheme. He may not be able to give you even how to apply for the loan, but he will give you an idea. He will have, because the customer service point or the bank mitra has always a contact with his link branch, the real branch. So he will speak to the branch and help you what should do. So even if there is no branch near you, don't worry, ask the customer service point or the bank that's near you. Okay. The third is already explained. I'm skipping that. There is a very good portal of applying to online. If you are competent to do and sit at home, you can apply online and monitor your progress online. If all the three things doesn't work or you feel difficulty or it's not working, you can still write a neat application. Every district, the country has a huge system of lead district setup. It started in the 60s. So every district, there is an official who is a bank official called a lead district managers. Okay. Each district, the banking activities is coordinated by a lead bank. Okay. And that the lead bank as an official is a banker only called an LDM in every state and every district. So whichever district you are, you can even in the in that Stand Up India Mitra site itself, you can find out which is that in his address. You can write to him. I suggest you write to him when you face some difficulties. Okay. Otherwise, and approaching a normal branch is sufficient, and you will be able to get through. Can you move on? Yeah, there are many people who told me about that project report. Strictly speaking, okay, right from any kind of loan, but to a loan which is presently now in 10 lakhs to 100 lakhs, a project report is not mandatory for a banker. I'm speaking even on behalf of State Bank of India and many bankers. I'm telling you, project report is not something which is not prescribed as mandated by the bank to apply for a loan. Of course, if you can manage, you go and compile one. Anamika has already told that in the site there are people, or Koveis can handhold you how to prepare it. But I'm telling you, the essential part for a banker is what is given in the third bullet. That the banker always asks this: what is the estimated revenue and expenditure for the next 10 years? You know that Stand Up India is for 7 years. That's a government norm. Okay, so you have to exist for the 7 years. It's not that you are not existing for the loan period. So banker expects that when you start a business for the next decade, what's your idea? At this point, I really admit that it is impossible to predict what will be there for the next 10 years in an uncertain times. We have seen the COVID, all those things. I appreciate. Still, since you are entering into a serious business of taking credit, and that credit cycle period is 7 years, I suggest, and bankers desire, that you have a plan of what you will do with the business for the next 10 years. What you will do means, for the banker, it means simply figures. And figures specifically means what you will earn and what is your expenditure. Because the difference between the two is the crux of the point for the bankers. If you are spending 1 lakh rupees and you are earning only 50,000, no banker will be there to help you, whatever be the scheme, however good the scheme is. So the essential point for the banker is that banker always measures that every year you need to generate surplus to service the interest, to service the repayment, as well as for support for your own profit. So even if you don't worry, you don't make a very sophisticated project report of neat English or PPT or whatever it may be. It is enough you prepare an estimated revenue and expenditure, or estimated projected revenues and expenditure of the project on a base, conservative but realistic basis. I once again admit that it is very difficult to predict what will happen in the next 10 years. Still, you should be, as an entrepreneur who has mooted and who has thought about the idea, what will be the business of revenues and expenditure for the next 10 years. Can you move on? Yeah. I told you, you should not apply the loan because you should not apply for loan because there is a loan facility. You should first decide to have a viable business idea, and you are willing to be an entrepreneur and face the risk. The most important thing is deal with the risk, and also deal with the finances. So the most important question before you applying it, how much funds you have before you walk into the branch. The Government of India scheme norms mandates that from your own source, suppose you are having a project of, let's say, 50 lakhs, that you have 5 lakhs your own funds with you. You can find the rest of the funds by subsidy, loan, whatever it may be, but you don't start a business if you don't have any money. First, conserve the money, first save the money, first find out the money of your own source. So 10% of the project's cost, it is a stipulated norm. The banker will insist, that banker will verify it, whether you have the money. Don't fool the banker. Bankers are smart enough to find out that. Okay. So 10% of the project, whatever is your project may be your project may be 10 lakhs, your project may be 25 lakhs, or 30 lakh, 40 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 crore, even more than 1 crore also. But you should have your own capital or your own money, your own savings, your own resources to start it. Then only please walk into the branch. So 10% of the project cost is mandatory, that it should come directly from you. Move on, please.
Sir, request to expedite, sir.
Yeah, okay, move on. Okay. Okay, this is in any loan, there is a thing called margin. Okay, margin means the bank doesn't always finance 100% of the project cost. Some part has to be met by you. Okay, it was 25. It's a glad news that from last year onwards it was 15%. Okay, so when it is 15%, just remember what I have said earlier. 10% has to come from own source, and 5% can be from government subsidies or NGO subsidies, whatever. Move on, please. So this is something very serious, and I request you, please, before you meet the banker for an interaction and interface, you may submit the application. The banker will always ask for an interaction. Okay, or banker will come to you and have an interaction. Okay, what the banker looks into, what's your background? You may say that I'm going to start a sports center, as we have said here from the first speaker. But we will ask you whether you have any sports background. If you don't have a sports background, it doesn't go well for you. And what's your financial resources? Remember, business is risk and it involves money. So we also look into that aspect. Then whatever is the activity, you should have some ability or expertise to carry out the project, including ability to move the factors. I mean, factors are typically, in economics, factors of production. Okay, whether you can source the raw material, whether you can have the marketing arrangements, whether you have that finances, whether you can bring out the labor, etc., etc. So your ability to carry out the business idea and expertise to bring in the factors. And marketing, most important. What brings revenue to the business is your marketing. If you produce, how good it will be, and if you don't market it, it's the end of business. And that's how the banker will assess the viability. No banker will take a project if it's not viable. Move on, please. Yeah, this has been referred by Anamika earlier. Collateral security is not mandatory. If available, furnish. If not, the banker will mandatorily cover the loan. It is mandatory for the banker. Whether you like it or not, he will cover the loan under the very special credit guarantee scheme framed by the Government of India. And there is a fee for it. It is not a free service. It's free for it. You have to pay 1.5% of the loan outstanding. Move ahead, please. What's interest rate? Okay, this is the most critical question. Actually, interest rates are moving. We are now in a times where interest rates are moving up. Okay, rate of interest was earlier linked to, in the scheme, it was MCLR. Now many banks have shifted to EBLR. EBLR means external benchmark lending ratings. Typically, the Reserve Bank's repo linked rates. Okay, so this is in the range of 300 to about 300 to 300 bips above the MC. Earlier it was MCLR, now it is EBLR. So the present effective rate with many bankers, I would be between the range of 10.8. So remember, your business should minimum raise the interest. There are other charges. There is processing fee. There is a credit guarantee. I already explained. Inspection charges are there. There is also penal interest if there's a default. Please move on. Yeah, what's the type of loan? You will get a term loan for the equipment or the machinery part. You will get a working capital for your basic capital for your day-to-day working of it. And the loan period is 7 years. You will get a repayment holiday of 18 months. So the net period for you to repay is 5.5 years or 66 months. And if you are successful enough and you are continuing it, banker will allow you to continue the working capital even out of the SIU scheme. You can continue it as a normal borrower. Move on, please. Yeah, some insights into, now we have seen what the scheme actually. See, in the site itself, you can see that the SI count was there. It's a little disappointing if you say there are only so far 6 years down the line, we have only 1.62 lakh applications, and the number of sanctions is 1.43, and the total sanction amount is 32,000 crores. I already told you that there are 2.14 bank branches in the country. So the original government vision of one loan, one branch has not been attained even at the point of 6 years down the line. Okay. Some insights out of my views and experiences is that, see, don't take the loan as a government assistance. I repeatedly am telling you, loan is a serious business. Don't enter into a debt trap. Don't jump into loan because there is a separate scheme for you. You only if you are convinced about the business idea and you can carry out it successfully over the next 10 years. I repeat, scheme is for 7 years, but just have, if you can continue for next 10 years, only take out venture. Don't take the loan as a government assistance or a government subsidy. It's not. It's carry an interest as high as now it is running to 11% plus. Then the loan is taken without looking into the repayment or cash flow. See, let's be very clear that the loan is always taken, loan carry two things. One is you have to pay interest, you have to pay repayment. So if your business is not generating surplus to pay this, do not take that loan. It is 10 to 100 lakhs. So you may be tempted to take 100 lakhs. Okay, but be there. You don't take the loan if your project is not generating. And the third thing is a serious thing: risk assessment, risk mitigation management. It's a very serious subject. It's beyond our time to explain that. But remember, all business is risky.